it may be starting now. It says starting, so we are recording. Well, hey, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing even better now that I'm actually sitting talking to you face to face to do these questions. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so for those that might come across this video that don't know who you are, don't know what we're talking about or anything like this, I will say that we are going to be talking about 29 Needles. So for those that might not see this video, that I will show them this video, do you want to just talk about you and how you become the director that you are today, first of all?
So I am an artist, and I've long since loved the use of video to create art. And from an early age, I experimented with making little movies as a teenager, and just worked into that. And as I got older, I focused more on physical painting, and then I wanted to get back into making stories through through film, and so I took a, a class here and there, but basically I taught myself, and decided finally decided I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it because I want to, and I'm going to just make it my way. And I thought of what would be the best way to, with my budget, create a story that wouldn't feel so restricted by budget. And I felt like the easy way that a lot of people use to hide that is to do these found footage type movies, to hide a budget, and it's a great way to do that. And I felt like that had been done a lot, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to create that type of story. So I just figured I can use some just tricks that I came up with that made it feel a little bit more put together and a little bit more cohesive. So I used those to bring the budget out a little bit more, and really developed a story that was more centralized on a singular character. That way I didn't have to concentrate so much on just trying to wrangle in so much. And then as I developed the story, this movie came about, and I just pressed forward and pressed forward. So, and here we have 29 Needles.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first ever movie, isn't it?
It is the first feature film that I've ever made, yeah. So the one that I've really put forward this type of effort into. I've done some little things just playing around, but more for like student projects or just for fun. So yeah.
Well, I must say, for this being your first major project that's in the open and mainstream, I've got to say you did it really, really well. Like,
Thank
I
you.
was very, very surprised, but really happily surprised. Because normally when directors do their first movie, some of them, they're not really that good, but yours went up a notch, like I was really pleasantly surprised with this film. I absolutely loved it. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
for this. Um, so what made you decide that this is the sort of movie that you wanted to create? Because it's very different than I've ever seen before. So was there like something that maybe you'd seen?
I'm getting a little bit of a delay. I think that you said, why did I want to make this type of film as
Yeah,
my first film, or at all?
yeah. So what made you want to decide to do this kind of particular film?
I thought it's my first one, and I have nobody telling me what to do, and why not do whatever I want? Why
Push
not
the
do whatever I want? Yeah, just like, and I felt like this way I can just really go there was no limits, no bounds to what I wanted to do. And I thought this was a really interesting thing. I had really been fascinated on what makes this type of person tick in regards to serial killers, and been around a lot of people from living in San Francisco, and the different friends and people that I interacted with. There was a lot of people that I knew that were really into some extreme sexual fetishes. So, and I just thought, this is really interesting. I wonder what drives that. And then I thought it would be interesting to combine that in a way that would tell a unique story. And I thought, why not that could be the first thing that I do, and that could be great. This is really interesting. It's not really, I didn't want to regurgitate an idea that other people are putting out there. And when I thought about this, I mean, the subject matters really can be outrageous, and I was like, I wanted to show it all because that was the character and that was the subject matter, and it felt like you were honoring that more by not cropping a certain way or pulling any kind of punches, so to speak. So I just thought this would be a really good way to make a first impact by using this type of story and doing it this way. So.
Okay, so I really have to, I can't stress this enough when I say this. What I really loved about your film is two things. One of them is you are showing this type of person in a very real, like, uncensored, raw kind of way, because not a lot of people probably know this, but there is a lot of people out there that have this guy's particular kind of fetish. And not only that, you're introducing people to that sort of lifestyle. And not only that, you are shown potentially somebody's journey in this lifestyle. And that's really what I love about it. And like I said, I've never seen anything like this before. And obviously I'm in the lifestyle and I've seen many things like this. And I really wanted someone to bring a film forward that not only showed you the more, I would say, extreme type of, fetishes, but to introduce them to a new way of life for some people. And that's what I absolutely loved about it. So apart from what you just said, I know you touched on this on an interview on the DVD, because I did watch this yesterday, how you gathered the actors for this film, and you touched on it in a way, but for this particular video, and because I'm going to be putting this on a podcast as well for the audio, could you touch on a little bit how you found these people for this film in particular? So
certainly, yeah, I used just some classified ads in some papers that were local, and in the personals area, but as an advertisement, because I worked with the local paper, which is non-existent at this point. And there's a website called Craigslist, which used to do hookups as part of the thing. There's like male meets female. I think that part of the website has been eliminated, but there was a lot of stuff on there, and I even explored some just kind of like adult sites, and I got kicked off of a lot of them that were local, because I was advertising to get talent for a movie, and they're like, this is for hookups, this isn't for, but I got some people that way. So and my idea around all that, and I actually put posts out on what was MySpace at the time, because this movie was filmed a while back, and so I pulled together a variety of people, and knowing that I had to find a lot of people that actually kind of were interested in some of this lifestyle, and I also wanted to honor the people who were legitimately in the sadomasochism and bondage and domination. And I wanted to honor them in a way that would say that some of this isn't really that at all, and that is that, but this is different than that, even though it treads that line at times. And I didn't want to insult, but I also wanted to kind of say, this is this person exploring this in a way. So I felt like bringing some of that in from people that are actually liking some of this aspect, that were willing to do that for free, because it was a great thing for them to be involved in that and to show themselves. It made it really easy, and certainly easy for the budget. So I pulled together, and then you had to interview them, and then I had to see if any of them could act, and then I had to see who I could use for what, and then when the time came around to filming, who was going to show up. So, because all these people aren't actors, I used a couple people that had acted before, but certainly they weren't actors. So, yeah, it was a long process. Yeah.
Well, I must say the main guy, Brooke Berry, who plays Francis, and the guy that plays Hans, they did a fantastic job. Like Brooke Berry, like he was sort of made for that role, I see it. So how did you find him, first of all?
Okay. So Brooke, and I'm going to try to refer to Brooke as she, because she transitioned before she passed recently. Yes, she transitioned, and that was very interesting because part of that awakening happened through making the movie, and Brooke really rediscovering what was truly inside, and decided to make that transition. But I found Brooke because we had mutual friends on MySpace at the time, and that was just like for social media site that a lot of musicians used it too, and I think it's now a music site. But I found a lot of the musical artists that I used on the movie that way too. But Brooke, we had mutual friends, and saw that I was looking for talent, and I interviewed Brooke. And after we met up, I said, I thought that Brooke was going to possibly be at first an extra or somebody with a line or two. And then as we talked on the phone, I realized I really liked him for another character. And then I was thinking it was going to be Hans at first. And then after we met in person and kind of really, it was more of like an informal interview process. As I said, no, this is not going to be Hans. This is Francis. This is definitely Francis. So then I had to find a Hans, but that was not so bad. But Brooke fit perfectly. And then after some auditioning, it was just incredible that Brooke had never acted before, never done anything before. And it was certainly the movie has such an impact because of Brooke's performance, I think.
Yeah, like I said, Brooke,
yeah,
she did really, really well in this, I must admit. Yeah. And Hans as well. I remember I watched the film the first time, and I watched it again yesterday, and I noticed something what I didn't notice the first time. I noticed that Hans was watching Brooke basically from the very beginning. And I didn't notice that the first time I watched it. So I'm really glad I watched it again. But this is definitely going to be a movie in the top of my list, like for a very long time. So when you were filming the film, whereabouts did you do the locations for the film? Was it in like one place, or was it in different places? So
yeah, it was all over. I worked at a cafe at the time, and I used that space for one of the scenes. But I also knew people that worked at some of the bars, and they talked to the owners, and the owners were like, "Yeah, sure." So yeah, exactly. So the nightclub scenes, that was in one bar which just got shut down. It was called Grand Central. It was a gay dance club. And then I shot at the Baltimore Eagle too, which is a leather fetish bar club that's here in Baltimore. And I shot at some other small music venues. And then in people's houses. And then there was a period of time where at the Baltimore Eagle, the owner had this warehouse in the back where the makeup crew was using that to build some of the bigger effects, and he was letting us use that space. So we shot some stuff in there too, in like corners. And I pieced together from all these different locations, sometimes if characters were interacting or looking at each other, that they might not even have been, they weren't necessarily even in the same location or shooting at the same time. So like a person would be looking this way and that was from a whole different location. And then you look back and that was from a different time period, different location, just to kind of piece pieces together to make the spaces look different.
So was that the same with the actual building that Francis had went to with Hans when he introduced him to that? That was the same, yeah?
Yeah, that was the same type of situation. Mostly the filming for that happened outside, except for when you come in the door, when they would come in the door, Hans and Francis, that main door, we filmed right inside there and in the little walkway up the garage. And then once they kept going, that was in a different location. And then other locations within there. So, yeah.
Seems really complicated when you're doing these sort of films, when you're everywhere all at the same time.
Well, yeah, and it was just a matter of using the spaces the way that I envisioned them and finding what I thought that the spaces looked like in my head. So, scouting, location scouting, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed really hard, but when you're actually watching it, and it's fascinating to watch the film all back to back, and I bet you are really proud of what you created, though. I
was, yeah, definitely.
Really proud, yeah.
I was, yeah. Yeah, I did think that after it was all said and done, that I thought I may have made an unwatchable movie. Like, I wonder if anybody's ever going to get a chance to see this ever. And I was like, is there even an audience for this? And then here we go. Yeah. And then Unearthed. Well, first of all, it started getting some attention in some of the film circuit, and it had its world premiere at Nightmares Film Festival in Ohio, and then some other places you picked it up and had it in their festival too, which was wonderful. But quickly from the Nightmares Film Festival, I got attached with talking to Stephen Byro at Unearthed Films, and he saw it and he's like, let's talk. So that was great. Yeah. Like, wow, this is not what I expected was going to happen from this, So
it's
really
definitely one for Stephen Byro's distribution, that's for sure. Like he's amazing. His films are amazing. But anyway, so I've got one question about the film itself. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give too much away because I want people to watch this film. But the two people outside, what was that all about?
Well, there's a lot of symbolism that I use throughout the movie. And those characters, there was actually a third too, but they weren't always interacting together. And that one came more at night. But those two characters with the masks, right?
Yeah.
They're in the movie, they're in the trailer, or one of them was, I think. And they represent aspects that are awakening in Francis.
Okay.
Are kind of also leading those aspects to come forward. So.
Right. Okay. Right. I'm understanding the film a bit more now, just with that bit there. Now, again, I don't want to say too much. So, what's this about the chain? Because I know I watched a lot of reviews and a lot of people were like, it's all centered around the chain. And I didn't know if that was a sort of question that maybe you'd come across and maybe you'd answer it. So I thought I would ask because I don't think you have answered that. I'm not
No,
sure.
the chain, I thought it was initially intended to be a it's a metaphor as well of the restriction that he had upon himself, and when the chain was finally released and broken, that's kind of when the ultimate gratification really occurs. But the idea was that, and I wasn't able to really pull it off the way I wanted to, but that it was an endless looping chain going through the psyche of this individual. So, and then when it finally severed, it was no longer, he was no longer restricted from these, the constraints that he had upon what his interests were. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so, sorry, what?
And he may have like found what he was looking for. So, yeah.
So is that relating to also the end of the film as well, or were
Yeah.
you leaving that to open to interpretation as well?
I know it's open to definitely interpretation, but it does connect to that, yes. Because in my idea, the end of the movie is really beginning. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I wanted to explore more of that, and who knows, maybe I will, but um, it feels like fairly impossible to do without Brooke being around anymore. So,
Yeah, he's definitely a one to bring back. Because I was thinking, I watched the film and the ending came, and I was like, "That's a cliffhanger. Is there another film in the making? Maybe, Because
yeah,
I would love another film with him in it. I
yeah,
really, that would be
yeah.
brilliant.
We had a lot of conversation uh, talking about what the next movie was going to be, and it was going to be a whole different script, and I was changing it around for Brooke's transition, and then there was, certainly the story could have continued from 29 Needles somewhere in some reality, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose I can't wait to see what happens. Now, if you were to make another kind of film, would it be like, obviously I think we might know that there might be a second one, but if you were to do, say, another movie, would you make a similar kind of film or would you go in a different direction completely, do you think?
Well, I have a script done for the next one that I wanted to make, but then um, the world pandemic kind of really halted the brakes on that concept a little bit, because when I want to film this, I want to not have so much of those restrictions, because it is, again, um, a film that does have some sexual elements, but it's not going to be in the same vein that this one is. And it's but there will be some graphic nature, and there will be working through um, some subjects that I find very interesting, which has to do with like supernatural elements and like demons and things like that. So yeah, working towards that. So we'll see how quickly that can um, come to be with. But I'm working on other stuff in the meantime as a possible in between. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so the actual artwork for the film, who did this artwork, can I ask?
Yes. Her name is Trisha Zimick, and she I got to meet her, and I have an art gallery, and she came to my gallery because her daughter really liked my artwork and bought a few pieces, and so Trisha came down from Pennsylvania, which is the state just north of us, in Maryland, and she came down to visit her daughter in the gallery, and we were talking, and she was saying, "Oh yeah, my mom, Trisha Zimick, she's an artist, and she has done artwork for a lot of the Hardy Boys books and Nancy Drew's books, and then a lot of artwork for some more of like exploitive B kind of cinema films. The like Toxic Avenger, a lot of the trauma films she's done, Surf Nazis from Hell, and so she did that artwork. And I talked to her. I said, so I'm looking at creating artwork for this, and I want to go in a different direction from what you have traditionally created, because I've seen her her talent, because she also doesn't just do poster art, she does actual paintings too, oil paintings. So I said I want to go more direction of some of these and go darker. So we worked it out, and we came up with that cover, and it worked out. That scene officially is alluded to in the movie, but it doesn't actually happen that way. It's kind of a mixture of different things, but it turned out really well. And it doesn't always happen, but I was like, I want that painting, so I own it now. So, yeah.
That's one thing I noticed when I seen the actual DVD cover. I was like, oh, that looks really cool. But when I actually seen it on the poster, I took a really good look at it, because when I love artwork, I like to really study it. And I noticed, like what you've just said there's a bit of everything in this from in the film, which is what I absolutely love. And I'm definitely going to put this up somewhere. So does every DVD come with this poster that people buy?
You know, I think, did you buy yours through Unearthed?
Yeah.
And so I would say, I believe, yes, through Unearthed. I don't know if you end up getting it through. There's a couple other, Diabolic DVD has some, and then Grindhouse Video has some. So I don't know if you buy them through those venues, if you get the poster or not.
Right. But, okay then.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I've got this. I couldn't stop talking about it, to my friends and stuff that's into these films. I was like, you need to buy this film. It's so good. But
well, thank you. Yeah.
No problem. So I noticed on your Instagram, I don't know if you wanted us to touch on this or not, but I thought I would ask anyway. So if you don't want to talk about this, it's fine. I went onto your Instagram and I noticed that you do artwork and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really different what you create. So me as like an artist myself, not your kind of artwork, but me mostly portraits and stuff. Mm-hmm. So what is your inspiration behind the artwork that you do? So is it the same for films, or?
I would say it's definitely different for what I paint and what I want to create on screen. There's definitely a different drive there. In regards to film, now I didn't make 29 Needles to fit necessarily in a genre, but I definitely feel like it can sit in a horror genre and it be fine, there. And I love horror films, so I think that I'll always be making horror films. But what I paint isn't always the same. I don't always focus on that. I do like monsters, and I like painting them, but they're not always horrific. They're and then some of them are some what I do is abstract, and right now I'm working on an oracle deck, artwork for an oracle deck for a clairvoyant that I am in connection with. So there's that too. So there's a little bit of different styles happening in what I work with. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you like to do in your own time apart from artwork and stuff like that? It's like, do you like to play music or anything like that?
Oh, I wish I could play music. I'm a huge music fan, and I love exploring all kinds of music, but I've tried to make music, and I was in a small project once, but I was like, no, this is just not working out. But what I do, I'm a father of 2 adopted boys. That's a pretty full-time job. Yeah. But I think that the artwork and movie making, and I run a gallery, so I do that. But for fun, I like being out in nature. I like kind of being out there and just exploring the world. Yeah.
Right, that's really interesting. I never knew you had two adopted boys. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that you had an adopted boy. I can't remember, but I didn't want to bring that up, obviously, because that's like your personal life.
Yeah.
So just going back to like the movies and stuff like that, like what are some of your favorite go-to movies that you enjoy watching?
Oh, that's hard because I have so many genres. Now, when I paint, and this is where I paint, I'm at my desk right now, because I do watercolors a lot. I use my laptop and I put movies on in the background, and generally, I I can't watch a movie while I'm painting that I haven't seen before. So if I will repeat a lot of movies because I can hear them and there's good dialogue and they just kind of, I know what's going to happen. So there's some movies that I really love. Some of them I would love to be able to watch, but I can't because they're foreign, and I can't. I have to watch the movie and see the subtitles uh, in order to understand what's going on. But I love the movie Crash by David Cronenberg. That is, I love so many things about it, and certainly his work inspired me as a director. Um, and I love Ingmar Bergman films, but I'm not able to watch them as much as I want because of the subtitles. He's made some ones in English too, but I love his films, and his work is inspiring to me as well. Uh, I, I would say that stuff that kind of just repeats for me is stuff with really good dialogue that I can just hear in the background and just really enjoy. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
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 That's really good to hear. I've never heard of the director that you mentioned just a second ago there. I've never heard of him
Ingmar
before.
Bergman.
Yeah, I've never heard of
Yeah.
him before.
Yeah, he's a Swedish director, and he did like Seventh Seal and Cries and Whispers and Wild Strawberries, and yeah, they're wonderful. Just moving films, and there's a lot of depth and sadness to them, and that's really what inspires me in creating plot and character is the way is bringing that forward in some of the characters, and how he does it is really wonderful. So I definitely recommend checking his work out. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah, like I said, I've never heard of him, so I definitely will after this call. So I've got one last question for you, and then I'll let you get to doing whatever you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, so for any of those people out there that may come across this video and that's interested in becoming a director of some kind, what advice would you give somebody that wants to become a director in the field, in your particular field or any field?
Okay, so I would say that know what a director does, what the role is of a director, and decide what path you want to go down. If you want to go down the independent path, and if you want to go and try to tackle some of the huge projects, usually there's a transition. You can start the independent, and maybe you'll get picked up because there's a lot of directors that work that way. But I would say, make what you want. Do it. Just do it. Get
Yeah.
yourself a team together and just do it. A lot of what I did was just guerrilla filmmaking. We just pulled up, brought a camera out. I mean, there was a scene on the highway when Brooke was on the motorcycle, and we had a camera hanging out. I mean, a huge camera hanging out the side of a car. And we would pull up next to him on the motorcycle and we're filming that. Hopefully people would, and then we'd pull around. I mean, it wasn't the smartest thing, but we were being very safe, and you just do it. You do what you want. I mean, you do what you love, and if that's what you love, you'll make it work.
Yeah, especially because you don't know what's around the corner, do you, really? If you
You
wanted to
don't.
go for it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. So listen to Scott with that one. Just okay, so that is all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for doing this video call with me today. I really appreciate it. I feel privileged. So is there anything before you go that you might want to add that you've never spoken about before or anything like that?
Well, no, I would just say that for people that see this that are curious about the movie, read the reviews, and if it still seems like something you're interested in, then give it a try. You never know if you're going to like it until you try it. So,
Right, exactly. That's what I was thinking. You don't know until you try.
yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for this video call again, and I hope to speak to you very shortly. And I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
No problem. I'll see you later.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.